And hello, everybody. Welcome to the program here, Whitey Reed with Jerry Ratcliffe and Hoots. Let's get right to it. Virginia traveling to North Carolina on Saturday, 1 o'clock, down at the Dean Dome there. What are your thoughts on this game, especially with North Carolina coming off that, really to them, devastating home loss to Duke the other night?
Yeah, I'm sure that, as much as that game stung for the Tar Heels the other night, I'm sure that Roy Williams has focused hard on getting them to get over it quickly because, there's always another game in the ACC. And, I can't remember the last time. I'd have to look that Carolina lost back-to-back home ACC games. But, Tony Bennett really can't afford to worry about the Tar Heels mood. He's got to worry about his own team because he can't control what's happening with Carolina, but he can control his own guys. And I think the big key is going to be whether or not Virginia's perimeter guys, we keep saying this over and over again, can find their mark, because I think as good as Carolina is, I think they're one of the worst teams in the ACC when it comes to perimeter defense, and that could be Virginia's strength if its perimeter shooters come alive.
The matchups in this one, if you're a Virginia fan, though, they're kind of daunting, for lack of a better word there. When you look at Carolina's front line, this is a front line that would be even probably pretty big by NBA standards, and this is a college front line with Zeller and Henson, who are essentially 2 7-footers, and Barnes is like a 6'7", 6'8" small forward. I asked Tony the other night, do you think you can get away with some of your small ball lineups that you've played so far this year? And he seemed a little wishy-washy on that. But the truth of the matter is he's only got 8 guys to play with anyway. At some point he might have to try to play small. And that really puts the onus on Virginia's big players not to get in any foul trouble in this game. If any of those guys gets in foul trouble, I guess you could say that about any opponent this year that Virginia plays because of their lack of depth, but even more so against a team like Carolina that could really capitalize on that, foul trouble because of their size advantage.
Yeah, and the scary part is, you look at some of these mock NBA drafts, and they had 4 Tar Heels going in the first round, so essentially you are playing against an NBA team or a future NBA team.
Shoot, my Knicks would take that team right now the way we're playing. Yeah.
Absolutely, although you got to be happy about Jeremy Lin, but
we'll get to that later.
But yeah, it is a daunting task anytime you got to go into the Dean Dome and try to walk out with a win. I think if they, I don't think a loss here hurts Virginia. A win would be awesome, but I don't think a loss hurts them. I think they just need to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat here on out, and they'll be fine.
Now, are you surprised, Hoots? I wrote about this in our print editions the other day, that Tony hasn't at least maybe tinkered with that starting lineup a little bit, and namely Sammy. It's my belief that, when a guy's in a shooting slump, you basically just try anything to maybe snap him out of it a little bit. Sammy's going to play the same minutes regardless of whether he comes off the bench or starts. But I think at this point, just with the way his head probably is after some of these poor performances, it might behoove him just to have a little fresh approach, come off the bench, maybe start Malcolm Brogdon, who's been playing great the last few games here. What are your thoughts on that? I'm pretty surprised when I asked Tony about it. He didn't really seem like it was under that much consideration. But, why not mix things up a little bit?
Yeah, it wouldn't be unusual for a coach to do that. I don't know what Tony may see every day in practice as to whether maybe Sammy's hitting them well in practice, not in the game. Maybe he doesn't want to disturb the psychology of it and maybe cause him to have a bigger drop in confidence or a drop of confidence. I don't know if it's how bad it's bothering Sammy. I know he said the earlier slump, he had trouble sleeping at night. So it's probably a delicate thing he's dealing with here, and I'm guessing that he's probably seen more in practice than we're seeing in games.
Because they're going to obviously need him in this game. Their perimeter players are going to have to come up big at some point, because how many times can you keep going to the well and having to rely on Mike Scott to have these 20-plus point games? It's almost come to the point, in my opinion, that if Scott doesn't, have a big 20-plus kind of game, they have no chance to win with the way their perimeter guys are going.
Yeah, especially against Carolina, like you said, with that really awesome front line that they have. You're not going to get much against them anyway. But, it wouldn't surprise me if he would shuffle his lineup a little bit. I just don't know what psychology he's dealing with. But I think Brogdon has really come on. He's playing well. He's averaging 25 or more minutes a game now, and he played really well against Wake Forest the other night. But then again, who doesn't?
Exactly. And, you know, John Telk is kind of turning the corner a little bit, and let's talk a little bit more about that in our next segment, his play of late, and we'll also talk about the impressive showing against Wake Forest the other night when we come back on part 2 here of the show.